Excellent. Well, thank you very much. And thank you for your patience, ladies and gents, while we ironed out the technical gremlins. This, starting slightly late, is the meeting of the Finance, Assets and Performance Scrutiny Committee of Newcastle and Lyme Borough Council, in addition to the members of the committee flinching tonight under the Anglepoise lamp of scrutiny are Councillor Simon Tagg, the leader of the council, and Councillor Steve Sweeney, the deputy leader and finance and something else portfolio holder. Item number 1, apologies for absence. Does anybody have any apologies? Councillor Parker.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, apologies from Councillor Burt Proctor, and I will be substituting in place of him tonight.
Noted. Thank you very much. Any other apologies for absence? I see no other apologies for absence. Item number 2, does anybody have any declarations of interest to make under any item? I see nobody has a declaration of interest. Item number 3, minutes of the previous meeting. They appear starting at page 3 of your agenda packs. Does anyone have any comments or corrections for the minutes? Are we okay to agree those as an accurate record? Marvellous, that's agreed. Item number 4 would normally be the update from Cabinet. We haven't asked them for anything, so there is no update from Cabinet. Item number 5, the commercial strategy update. Now, I believe Councillor Sweeney is going to introduce this one for us. Councillor Sweeney.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. This is something that you've asked to come, I think, every 6 months. As you're aware, because it says in the report, so I hope you're aware, we make about £400,000 of commercial income from various properties we've got. Now, to become a sustainable council, we need to increase that. And obviously, it's not been helped by the COVID pandemic as caused a bit of a hiatus with it. However, now things are starting to move in the right direction. So we've got a few items here. If I can just talk people through, it's on 2.9. The first one is land at Parkhouse Road West, Chesterton. This is looking towards a market analysis on there to see the viability of putting some more industrial units on there. Now, we can't have enough industrial units. However many we have, we will rent. So we're looking to put some there. Again, an income coming in. Land at Apedale, Chesterton, the next one, is a 4.5 acre site. It's been marketed for sale for a number of years, which it has been. But in January 2022, Cabinet approved the letting of this site on a 25-year term for battery storage. So this is what it sounds like. It's some electricity off the grid. Instead of going to waste stores and batteries, they pay us income for the land for 25 years. So it gives us an income. It's a green thing, and it ticks every box you could ever wish to tick, really. Chatterley Valley. Now, Chatterley Valley, I know Councillor Stubbs and we have a different opinion on Chatterley Valley. I think personally it's an absolutely fantastic development. 1,700 jobs, and it's in an enterprise zone. So any increase in business rates, we will keep. Now, they've got to be invested within the area, but again, it's a self-funding sort of thing. And one of the things we look to invest in is a small business park to support the supply chain of the advanced ceramic facility being developed. Next one is land off Hassel Street. Now, this is back at Ritzy's Zanzibar or Crystal, whatever you want to call it. It's there's some industrial units, sort of live-work units. So there'll be units with flats above, which again, we can rent out, and again, is a source of income for the council. The last one we've got here is York Place. We've obviously acquired it now, and the future uses of this development are currently being considered. There'll be rent on there. So I think it's fair to say that over the last few months, this has started to move in a very positive way for this council. And without this this level of extra income coming, it just helps to make the whole council sustainable in the future. Whether government funding changes or whatever happens, it just it shields us from that sort of potential danger. So I'm happy to take any questions on it. I don't know if you got anything else to add, Sarah. Were you happy with that? No. Anyone else take any questions? I'll be happy to take any. Thank you.
Thank you for the report, Councillor Sweeney. I'll go to Councillor Stubbs first.
Thank you, Chair. Just to correct the portfolio holder, I think it's a wonderful scheme, but I also like to think that people can read maps as opposed to the portfolio holder not being able to read a map when it comes to funding. If the portfolio doesn't mind, if I take him back to item, I think it's 2.8, it's 2.8, the one before. Just a couple of questions with regard to the investment advisor. So I can understand the want to hold fewer and better assets. I understand that, but is there not a fear that we're putting all our eggs, the smaller number of eggs, in one basket? So I'd like the portfolio holder's view, and indeed the finance officer, if possible. There was a second one as well. Oh, sorry, the investigating sustainable energy solutions. Are we talking sort of investing in community interest companies with regard to community energy schemes, or are we thinking along the lines of setting our own energy solution up, and what sort of solutions would we be looking at? Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Sweeney.
Yeah, if I can take the first part of that. Hold fewer and better assets, which would generate better income streams, but a bit later it says increased diversification of assets and investment base, so risk is spread across various sectors and geographies. And at the end of the day, we're on the same side on this. We all want the council to make money. So this is what we're looking at. As to the second point, do you want to take that, Sarah? If you want, I mean, Simon Denham's on the call. He could be involved as well. He's on Zoom.
Thank you. In respect of our current commercial assets that we hold, we've done quite a big piece of work as to look at the energy performance of those assets, the repair, maintenance, and the actual sort of structure of those assets at the moment, and weighing up whether our repair costs are actually more than the income that's generated for that. So we've built sort of repair costs, etc., into our capital programme to ensure that our assets continue to bring that income in for us in the future. In respect to the second point and the energy solutions, that is a piece of work that we will be working on, and obviously continuing, you know, things that are evolving all the time. We want to ensure that what we do invest in is the right investment for the council, and obviously for the sustainability agenda as well. So it's an ongoing piece of work. It's quite a big piece of work, but we will be looking into all the areas around that piece of work. Thank you.
Within the ether, did Simon McKenney have anything that he would like to add?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. We are looking into how we might commercialise sustainable energy solutions. The council, as you know, have signed up to a pledge to make ourselves carbon neutral, and one of those things is being able to create and generate our own electricity or sustainable use. So the as Sarah's just said, is the investments we're looking into going forward will have to have that type of energy creation attached to them. But there's also a piece of work that we're doing about how we actually generate electricity for ourselves, for our own assets, and if we're developing out developments, etc., how we might create energy that sustains those, or you know, so it might be solar farms, it might be ground source heat pumps, it might be all sorts of different sustainable energy. But the idea is that we do as much as we can to come off grid as much as we can, or save ourselves money, but also maintain the pledge that the council has made for zero carbon in 2030.
And you content with those answers, Councillor Stubbs? Yeah. Obviously, energy creation and sustainable energy solutions are something that's been thrown into the vital relief by two things. Firstly, I think the spike in the wholesale cost of gas and of energy in the global market, and secondly, because of the war that is currently taking place, and our need to diversify and free ourselves from traditional sources of energy that might perhaps benefit foreign powers that are hostile to us. So I'm glad to hear that that's happening. Did anyone have any further questions on this report? In that case, thank you very much for the report, Councillor Sweeney. It continues to be a thing that this committee requests on a 6-monthly basis, but who knows, when this committee is reconstituted after the election, it may have other ideas. That concludes then the discussion on that item. Next item is number 6, the procurement strategy update. Councillor Sweeney again.
If I can just briefly introduce this, I think Councillor Hutton asked if we could bring this forward after 3 months. We had the Borough Council of Newcastle and Lyme procurement strategy, which you've got amended here. This is just a bit of where we are with it now, sort of report. I think what you do notice when you read through it is that the green green thread, if you like, the sustainable thread is all over this report and is a vital part of the way this council acts now. And it's certainly its procurement as well, isn't everything, but this is talking about procurement, so I'll talk about procurement. But no, that's all I've got to really say. I'll take any questions anyone going to ask.
Thank you very much for the update, Councillor Sweeney. Councillor Hutton.
Thank you very much, Chair. I just say thank you very much for taking on board the comments that this committee made, and it's excellent. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you. And that report is noted then if nobody has any further questions. Oh, Councillor Stubbs.
Just to mirror what Councillor Hutton said, it's nice to see that input from this committee in particular has been put into it. Just picking one part out, the social value side, it's nice to see that's if anything been strengthened during this process. And that anybody glancing at Appendix 2 or Appendix B can see that the social side has been put at the centre of it. It's very important moving forward that from a procurement point of view that we put Newcastle at the centre of everything and try and spend our money as locally as we possibly can. And that social value side will help with that massively. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Stubbs. Item number 7 then is the finance and performance review for the third quarter of the current year. We'll do the report itself first of all then, and take with that the financial position, which is Appendix A, I think. Before we open it up to the floor, did you have any comments by way of introduction that you'd like to make, Leader?
Nothing on the finance report at the moment, but obviously willing to take questions, and I have the finance portfolio holder next to me to help me out as well.
Lovely. In that case, does anybody have any comments or questions on the report itself before we delve into the performance indicators? I say no hands raised. In that case, the corporate performance indicators are printed. Councillor Tagg, for this second part of it, do you want to say something? Yes, so these are the KPIs now.
Yes, the KPI starting on page 53. We looked at these at Cabinet yesterday, so this is hot off the press, is coming to the committee today for this third quarter. I mean, I called it at Cabinet yesterday the Omicron quarter, wasn't it? Because this is when we had the surge in Omicron, which really put us back really into a COVID state, didn't it, with various restrictions. So that was affecting some of our indicators, which I'll come on to. But going through the report, starting with the first priority was local services that work for local people. Just one I'd like to highlight is the recycling there under 1.4 on A, B and C. And you'll see there, even though Omicron was raging this time, we were getting back to normal recycling services. So the food waste had kicked back in. So as you can see there, the obvious balance and seesaw there of the residual waste going down, which is what we want it to do, going back down, and food waste going up by the same amount. So that shows that people were returning to the food waste collections, which we'd reintroduced and at the end of the previous quarter. So we're seeing the results of it there. Moving on to 1.9 comments on this is the total unique users of the website. We'll see there's a triangle there to show that it's an amber, I think, in colour. And that's because at that point, we're looking at reflecting on last year's performance as well and seeing the reduction in target, use, as you would say, of the website. Of course, at this point, even though we were in the Omicron stage, we were having Castle House open. People were returning to face-to-face, where at the previous year, obviously all services were coming through particularly online. So we've seen a drift back in that third quarter back to the face-to-face. And also at the time, members remember we launched our website, which for the first month or so was a work in progress. Pleased to say now, and well in advance of the new year, it was fully functional. But during some of this phase, it might have affected some of the users of the website. Over the page onto human resources, the only red that is on this deck of indicators is the human resources and the average days per employee lost to sickness. I think again, Omicron is the cause of that. And I think what we found as Omicron began to to raise during this period is that we had more staff probably, going down with this than we did actually during some of the bigger lockdowns and when before the vaccinations, because it was so much more transmissible. And just looking at the sickness levels now as we're entering this phase where all restrictions have been removed, which will be obviously looking at the next quarter now. I'm talking about we're going to see, I believe, a similar thing of just this week. There are a lot of staff who are going off sick with COVID, and that will be reflected in the next indicator. But I think 1.13, as it says in the comments there, we were in an Omicron variant raging stage. I think that had an effect on the indicators in that respect. Moving to growing our peoples and places, which is the next indicator. I think this one is always a good story to tell. I think it is again here, all green status for our planning staff. They've really come back into the office during, I think, this quarter as well, and the quarter after we're in at the moment. And I think the first quarter, of the next year. I think also though that their work rate from when working from home was really good as well. And I think we've got a really good team there of officers, and there's inevitable churn in that as well, I think, which you're going to see, and we are bringing new staff in as staff move on, particularly as the end of the lockdowns and people return to work, they make other plans and move away. So we are seeing changes in our planning staff that we're looking to replace. But as I say there, the indicators are faultless again from that area, and as a credit to Simon McKenney's team on that. Moving on then to our next indicator, which is our healthy and active and safe borough. I think that the range of indicators here is very encouraging, the community safety side, and also the museum, which of course has reopened since reopened during the latter bit of the quarter we're looking at here. And if anybody's been to the museum, I'm sure they'll be, proud to see the money that's been invested in that and the result. And it's fully open now, which is really good. The last one there, which is showing an amber triangle with a note of concern, is the membership levels. And again, during this quarter, membership levels, which were recovering, were hit a bit by obviously the Omicron and people not wanting to sign up. But as of the portfolio yesterday, gave us the latest update, and 2,400 the membership is up to at the moment. So increasing again, and hopefully as we now move forward, we can bring our membership up to where we want at J2. And then the final indicator is our town centre for all. Again, a really good story to tell here with the markets. We managed to keep the markets open during this quarter, even though we were in, the rises in cases of Omicron. And also I think the footfall is worthy of note as well, because as you'll see there is an increase on the 983173. But if we look back to last year, which was the quarter 2021, which was really I think we're in tier 3 lockdowns, all sorts of things. I think hospitality and restaurants and pubs were closed, and shops were people were shunning shops because of the COVID at that time. We beat that, which we expect to do. But if you look at quarter 3 from 18-19, that's the last quarter pre-pandemic. We are almost 100,000 footfall ahead during this period. And of course, during this period, we had our in this we're looking at today, we didn't instigated our free parking on Midway. We also have the £1 park, and we had our Christmas concessions in the run-up. So I think you can see that if footfall has increased during that period, and that's to do with the markets as well that we held in the run-up to Christmas. So a really good picture. And I really ignore 2021 because that was a COVID year. But when you go back to the 18-19, you're looking at a period when COVID hadn't kicked in, and we've got over 100,000 people more during this period coming into the town centre, which is really encouraging. And as for the markets on the last one there, as I said, all of those really good markets that are up to Christmas. I think that's one of our success stories really during this period and before and since. And of course our market won, the artisan market won the award from the markets people. So unless Stephen wants to add any more on the markets, because I know it's one of his passions, that concludes my report on the quarter 3 indicators.
Thank you very much, Councillor Tagg. Councillor Sweeney, tell us about the markets.
We were at the market on Sunday, the artisan markets. It was quite a cool day, but it was a good steady market with a good a good atmosphere. The lad who was busking was excellent, and the stalls were all sold out. And it was all generally a very, very good day. I mean, the next task is to get some of these stall holders to move on to other days, because I mean they're on a Sunday. They're not losing money on a Sunday, are they? So it's try to persuade them to perhaps stand on a Saturday or another day on the market. That's the next thing to achieve. But no, overall, I think the market is one of our success stories, and I think the pictures that you see in the local paper, the black and white picture by the Guildhall of, and they say, oh, it's never going to be like that again. Well, they want to go on a Sunday now and see, and you'll find it is like that now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sweeney. It's a land of hope and glory. Wider still and wider shall the bounds be set of Newcastle's historic market. Would anybody care to apply scrutiny to any of the things that we've heard from Councillor Tagg and Councillor Sweeney? There are a lot of good performance indicators. It's excellent that we're in a situation where the exceptions are the negative or neutral logos. There are now 5 different symbols that might be applied, and particularly taking, for example, the planning indicators 2.2 through 2.5. It hasn't always been the case that those have been green, and it is excellent news that they continue to be healthy and that team is delivering so well as it is. So if nobody has any questions about the performance indicators, we'll draw that item to a close. Oh, Councillor Stubbs, sorry, I looked at you briefly before and you hadn't indicated yet, but please do say something.
Thank you, Chair. I was mulling actually whether to ask a question. It's not really something that relates straight back to the figures. I was wondering if the portfolio holder or perhaps an officer at the next opportunity could come back with the number of empty units. It's fantastic that the market's doing so well, but the downside is that there's quite a large scale number of empty units within the town centre. Is it possible to get a sort of number of both the empty units within the town centre and I suppose more importantly, our empty units of properties that we own within the town centre? Thank you.
Councillor Tagg.
Yes, it's a valid point because it was an indicator that used to be reported. But I understand of the entire town centre stock, we've gone back above 80% occupancy. So it's the other way around. I'm approaching this, which is really good for the town. It's the first time it's been above 80% for a while. And anybody that goes around the town will see some of the new, the nail bars and the restaurants and all of that. Again, this is the type of thing we're going to get in towns now. We aren't going to get the department stores back, are we? So we've got to take anything we can to bring footfall in and to maintain footfall. So new businesses open as well. But for the council part of that, I will get some figures and I will send those out because I don't think we've got them handy unless Simon Mack has them handy too. Oh, it's one of yours, Stephen. Go on.
Are you talking about actual numbers, Councillor Stubbs, or percentages?
Percentages, numbers if you've got
percentages on 2.1.
Okay.
Yeah, but we'll get the numbers.
But the actual numbers that we have that's just percentages. But that's if they count it all the time. So
okay, thank you.
Yes, so we don't own a lot of properties, but we can. So that percentage is of a small number anyway. But just one thing I did forget before I hand back to you, Chair, is overall 84% of these indicators are on target. When I came to Scrutiny Committee, when was it last time we came, in January or something, it was 77. So we've increased that and they're going in the right direction. To keep it above 80%, I think on these indicators, as it is on shops in the town centre, is a really, really good thing which we should aim for.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. And for our minute taker, that is a request for the cabinet update item at the next meeting is the numbers rather than percentages, and there's much more information as we can get on those unoccupied units. Item number 8 on the agenda then is rough sleeper initiative funding. Now, this was an urgent decision. I've asked for this to come to us. It did go to Cabinet yesterday, and I agreed in my role as the chair of this scrutiny committee that it was urgent, and therefore it did not appear on the forward plan. We did not have the normal opportunity we would have had to scrutinise it or to call it in before Cabinet made its decision. But if Councillor Tagg would be happy just to go through what they discussed at Cabinet for our benefit, and then we can make comment on it.
Yes, we'll do. On behalf of Jill Heason, who can't be here tonight, she presented this to Cabinet yesterday. I think what it is the way we're entering a period now where we're in a bit of flux of elections, so there won't be an appropriate Cabinet around the time of when this hopefully successful bid will come through. So officers want to get ahead of the game here and get permission, as it says in the recommendation, that we accept the funding. Fingers crossed that it comes. There's no reason to believe why it won't, as part of the Rough Sleeper Initiative 22 to 25, and it's outlined in the report how the officers and the council will use that for a new range of services on the tenancy sustainment officer, the part-time support officer, a support officer to drive community outreach vehicle, and also Homeless Hub joint with the City Council. So it's expanding the services we already provide as part of our council's homelessness and rough sleeper strategy. So if there's more government money going, we'll go for it, and I'm very confident that we will get this money. So really what we want to do is get ahead of the game, enable our officers to get on and spend this money when we, fingers crossed, the Department for Levelling Up Housing Communities give us that money. And then obviously thank you, Chair, for using your power as Chair to allow us to take it to Cabinet yesterday. And I think we wanted to, as you did, to bring it to this meeting the following evening so that members could have their say. And also our relevant officers are online who will be delivering this project when we receive the money, and they can obviously listen to any members' concerns and also answer any questions of detail.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments? Councillor Stubbs.
Thank you, Chair. San, with regard to the Homeless Hub, any money that we bring in is fabulous with regard to homelessness. But I know it's very difficult to say, but how is that going to operate? How many full-time staff are we talking about? Because I have to say, I query the number. I think the latest number in November allegedly was 7 rough sleepers in Newcastle. I find that very hard to believe now. So fast forward to March, April, how is that going to be manned? And if we're sharing it with Stoke, can I ask that we make sure that, an equal amount of time is spent in Newcastle as it would be in Stoke, to make sure that, we do have a problem within the town centre. And unfortunately, there's a wider problem with the sofa surface and etc. across the whole of the borough. And it's something that we really need to get a grip of. Really support the fact that we're going to have the money. That's fantastic, but just probably a little bit of detail, especially with regard to the hub, if you could. Thank you.
Councillor Tagg.
Thank you, Chair. I will hand over to the officers in a moment for some more detail, because they'll be running the service. But I think those figures are right when it comes to the number of homeless, because what we see when we go into town are not necessarily homeless people. They're what you could call rough sitters. They come into town, they have accommodation. They may even, you're quite right, be sofa surfing and then come into town. Many of them have got really acute problems of drugs and alcohol issues, but they come from, the Lyme Trust, from others. And we're quite, blessed, I would say, in the support that we give around the town centre. But that means that in the daytime, they do migrate into town. And that's why we brought those marshals in to keep them in order in some respect. But I think when it comes to homelessness, I'm sure officers will say those numbers are accurate. And it's a constantly changing figure, and depending on conditions and weather, etc. But I think that we can trust those figures we see. And there's a wider issue, I think, on people in the town centre. But hand over to the officers. Is it Castell who's online?
Yes, hi, thank you. Just to reflect on what you've said, those figures are accurate, and the way we gather those figures is we do bi-monthly counts. In fact, we've got one coming up on Thursday. We go out at 5 in the morning every other month, just so to make sure that we're getting an accurate picture of who's actually verified and who's rough sleeping. So the last count that we did a couple of months ago, there were 4 rough sleepers. So obviously we'll see how many there are on Thursday when we go out, but that's how we gather our figures. In terms of the Homeless Hub, this is an idea and a project that we wanted to start for a while. And how it will work, it'll be like a day centre for agencies all to gather around, so that individuals can attend without having to make an appointment, because that's where you will lose individuals, when you have to make an appointment and then they have to go somewhere. It takes a few weeks and they disengage. So the idea behind the hub is to have all agencies under one roof. For example, drug and alcohol services, mental health, police, probation, housing, so that individuals can just go in and be able to access anything they need right there and then. We haven't ironed out the logistics in terms of where the building's going to be, in terms of the hours that we're going to have or anything like that. That's something we're going to work towards once we have a confirmation of the funding. But we're putting in 20% of the funding towards that, and then Stoke is putting in the 80%. But we'll be having conversations nearer the time as to where it's going to be, because as like you've said, I want to make sure that Newcastle gets its fair share, and that we're getting what we need for our services and for our individuals that we have on the street. So that's where we're at with it. But I can update further once, once we know for sure what the fine outline of it all.
Thank you. And I think that would be valuable, particularly if a decision is made to award the authority that money. The Scrutiny Committee would certainly want to receive a further report on progress. Councillor Stubbs, did you want to come back?
Yeah, just to echo what you said, Chair. I mean, I think it's really important that sort of information does come back to the committee. You know, there's six towns in Stoke, there's 2 towns in Newcastle, and then 25 villages in between. It's going to be incredibly difficult to have a one-stop shop in one place that's going to cater to the whole of Stoke-on-Trent and Newcastle and Lyme. And I wonder how that's going to happen. But I will look forward to the report and see what solutions come up with. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stubbs. Are there any other questions or comments on the report? Councillor Hutton? No. No. Okay. That concludes the final item of our final meeting that is substantive. Item number 9 is the work programme. We are bequeathing to the committee when it next meets in June 2 items. One is the regular quarterly performance management report, and the other is the update that's been requested as a regular update on the asset management strategy. I wouldn't seek to add anything to that because it'll be a different committee when it meets. So that's for noting, I think, is the the work programme. Item number 10, public question time. I've had no notice of any public questions. Are there any questions from the public? No. No. Excellent. See, we have a rule that says you've got to give notice, but I would be always very happy to receive a question. I think we've managed to make it through a couple of years now without having a public question. If I lose the election, be reassured, I shall come as a member of the public and I shall ask questions. Item number 11 then is urgent business. I've had no notice of any urgent business, and we do need notice of that. I'm not going to accept any urgent business off the floor. In that case, item number 12, date of the next meeting. It is going to be on the 30th of June, and we're going to agree that, I think, at full council when the calendar of meetings comes for the next 4-year cycle. And with that, that is the end of the meeting. Thank you very much for attending, and have a safe journey home.